Okay, a very good afternoon, children of class 11 arts. Just just approve whether you can hear me properly. Am I audible and visible properly? Yes, a very good afternoon to all of them. Many of them have joined here, yes. Brishti, Sanjeevani, Riddha, Shomita. Yes, Shom Shubhro, yes. Where are the others? Shom Shubhro, Sanjeevani, Shomita, Riddha, Brishti. Rimi is there, okay. Meghna, she didn't join, no? Did she join, Meghna? Sophia is there, okay. I'm getting Sophia for the first time. Okay. Now, any one of you please just tell me that I have completed with the executive chapter. Have I given you certain questions from that chapter? And if I have given, then you have to tell me which was the last question. Which was the last question? Okay. Just tell me which was the last question I have given you and how many in total. Functions of executive, okay. That means I have given all the more or less all the questions, isn't it? Functions of the Prime Minister I have given you 18th question. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much. Now, so today we can start with the third organ of the government, and that is if I tell you that the government is a circle, if I give it a circular representation, then the government is made up of three parts: the legislature, executive and judiciary. The legislature and the executive part we have already done, and now today we are going to do with the third part of the government, that is the judiciary. Clear? And what did I tell you before, that what is the main work of the judiciary? First of all, legislature makes laws, executive implements them, and it is the turn of the judiciary to see, to interpret. Interpret means to give a meaning to the laws. Interpret means bring out the meaning of the laws and adjudicate laws. Adjudicate laws. Interpret, I told you, to bring out the meaning, and adjudicate means to find out that the laws which are made by the legislature and implemented by the executive are according to the constitution or not. This is very, very important, that whenever the legislature is making a law or whenever the executive is implementing that law, it must have to make sure that the law which is made and the law which is being implemented, whether they are according to the constitution or not. Why? Because if they are not according to the constitution, what can the judiciary do? The judiciary can declare that particular law to be null and void. Null and void means unconstitutional. Unconstitutional means outside the constitution, and that kind of a law will be declared to be invalid or it will be rejected. Clear? You will ask, you could have asked me a question that, Miss, have such instances taken place? Yes, several times. Several times. I'll say that unnumbered times. You know, I'll just give you one example where a law which was made by the legislature and it was implemented by the executive, you know, it was rejected by the judiciary after 10 years. Just imagine, after 10 years, which means that the judiciary wanted to test the constitutional validity of a law many years after it was made and implemented. So, any time the judiciary, if it feels that it wants to see that whether the particular law is according to the constitution or not, it can do this, and this whole process is known by the name of judicial review. Judicial review. Clear? So, what is judicial review then? Judicial review is the process by which the judiciary or the courts, here judiciary means actually the courts of law, the law courts, they check out whether the law which has been made by the legislature or which has been executed or implemented by the executive, whether it is according to the constitution or not. If it is according to the constitution, then the law will continue to work as it had done before, and if not, then that particular law will be rejected. But it may so happen, for example, if this is a law, clear, it may so happen that the entire law can be declared to be invalid, or maybe a particular part of it may be declared to be invalid, and the other parts will continue to work the way it was doing so before. Clear? Am I clear with what are the three organs of the government, what is the function of the judiciary, and what do we mean by the process of judicial review? Okay. Thank you very much. Now wait, I will move to the judicial system in India. You know, India is a federal structure, is a federation. We have already seen that, although this chapter has been excluded from your syllabus, but I told you that this exclusion was not a wise one, because I am not at all in favor of this particular concept where an important chapter has been removed from your syllabus. But even then, I will use this word federation or federal quite often while discussing. Clear? When I have used legislature, when I have explained executive, I have talked about the federal character of India, and again when I am talking about the judiciary, the third organ of the government, then also I will be using the same thing, that India is federal in character. If this is India, India is divided into several states. Clear? So, if India is divided into several states, India is federal. That means, first of all, it has one government at the center, which is known as the central or the union government. This is one, and in every state you will have one state government. So, if you are having state government, that means everywhere the structure of the government will be the same, which means that the government will be made up of three parts, that is the legislature, executive and the judiciary. But in this chapter we will be discussing about only the central level judiciary. Clear? So, in India we have two sets of judicial system, actually two sets, but under the state government you have another set also, which is known to be the subordinate court system, because the judiciary, first of all I will talk to you the structure of Indian judiciary. What is the structure of the Indian judiciary? The Indian judiciary is known to be single integrated judiciary. If a question comes that what is the structure of Indian judiciary, if you don't write this word, your answer will be incomplete. That means the structure of Indian judiciary is what? It is a single integrated judiciary. Now I will tell you why it is single integrated judiciary. See, the Indian judiciary is like a pyramid. The topmost part, the highest court of appeal in India is the Supreme Court, which is the highest court. No court is above it. It is the highest court of appeal. Just below the Supreme Court, you have the high courts. Clear? So, at the state level, you have the high courts, and at the lowest level, you have, sorry, this has, should give you the diff. So, this is the Supreme Court, this is the High Courts, and this is the subordinate courts or the lower courts, whatever you may call it. It goes in the form of a pyramid. Why? Because the Supreme Court is the highest court, topmost court. Clear? It is the highest court of appeal, and after that you have the high courts. Now, for high courts, I will just tell you that, you know, in India there is a provision for high courts. That means at the state level you can have a high court. Usually I did not tell you that specifically. Usually, you know, in every state, you know, there is one high court. Clear? But in India there is also a provision. Provision means there is a rule of joint high courts. Joint high courts means where one high court can be shared by more than one states. For example, if you go to Punjab, Haryana, that part, clear, there you will find that the 3 states of the northwest, they share one common high court. If you go to the northeast, the 7 sisters, they are known as the small states of Meghalaya, Assam, and then you have Manipur, all those small 7 states, they together, they share one common high court. Why? Because the population of these areas is not so high, and the number of cases coming here is also not high as compared to West Bengal or Madhya Pradesh, or if you go to Uttar Pradesh or any other state where you have the number of cases coming is very numbers. And if you analyze, if you see, you know, there are more than thousands and thousands of cases lying which have not yet been decided. They are pending before the courts, High Court, Supreme Court of India. There are many cases which are still pending. Pending for what? Pending for decisions. The work pressure is so high. Whereas, as I have told you, like Punjab, Amritsar, Haryana, these states, you know what happened? They share one common high court. Why? Because the work pressure is not so high. As for example, I have told you the northeast, the 7 sisters, why they are said? Because there are small 7 states which makes the entire northeastern part of India. So, they also have only one high court. So, in India there is also a provision for joint high courts. And now I have talked about the structure of the Indian judiciary. The Indian judiciary is a single integrated judiciary. Why single integrated? Because the topmost court or the highest court is the Supreme Court, followed by the high courts and the lower courts. Now, if you want to file a case, so how will you move? You will have to file it in the lower courts or the subordinate courts, or as you would call it, the district courts. Clear? Then from here, if you are not satisfied with the decision, then you can take a certificate from the lower court and you can approach the high courts. But this certification is very important. As for example, when you are going for your exams, you have to carry your admit cards. In that way also, if you want to make an appeal from the lower court to the high court, you must get the certification from the lower courts. The lower courts will certify, and with that certification, you will move to the high court. Clear? And if In the high courts also you are not satisfied. There also what you can do, with a certification provided by the high court, you can move to the Supreme Court. Now you may ask me a question that, Miss, are there cases with which we can directly go to the Supreme Court? Yes, there are cases. For example, you see that when I have talked about your fundamental rights, clear. So when your fundamental rights are violated, you can go to the high courts, or directly you can go to the Supreme Court, clear. Whenever there are questions of human rights, when there are cases of this kind, when you can directly approach the Supreme Court of India. Otherwise, for all the other cases, you know, you have to move from the lower courts to the high courts, and then from the high courts to the Supreme Court, clear. This is the pattern, or this is the structure of the judiciary of India. Now I will talk, now first of all I will take up the case of the Supreme Court of India. The highest court, we will start from the highest court of appeal, and what is that? That is the Supreme Court of India. Now where is the Supreme Court of India located? We all know that it is in the, it is situated at New Delhi. Many of us has seen it directly when we have visited Delhi, or some of them, those who have not yet got that opportunity now, you have done it. You have done it. Who is this? Shreya Roy left this conversation. Who is Shreya Roy? I don't get it. Is Shreya a new, oh yes, Shomshubro, you went there, very good. Okay, Supreme Court is situated at New Delhi. Many of you have seen in pictures, some of you have seen in televisions or things like that, and many of you have paid a visit there. Okay, thank you. Now, is someone there who is Shreya Roy, who has joined class 11 arts? I did not meet this person before. Usually I have not met majority of them, but teaching so many days via online, I have come to know about some of you via your names. So I am just asking that who is this person, Shreya Roy? She was in this group. Yes, Riddha, she was in this group, but is she a student of class 11 arts? Added just a few days back. Okay, okay, okay. Okay, it's okay. Fine. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, dear, for all your efforts to reply me to the questions which I have put for you. Okay, what is this? Newman. Newman is a person, you know, Kunal. Newman. Oh, okay, 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 okay. Sorry, it came together and it seemed like a surname of a person. Okay. So, how many judges? First of all, we will see the composition. Composition, that means how many members are there in the Supreme Court of India. Composition. At present, I am talking about at present, you know, there are 26 judges. And this 26 is broken up in this way, 1 plus 25. And who is this one? This one is the Chief Justice of Supreme Court. Chief Justice of Supreme Court, and he is also known as the Chief Justice of India. Whoever becomes the Chief Justice of India, he gets another designation, another title for himself. And what is that title? That he or she becomes the Chief Justice not only of the Supreme Court, but also of the country. Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, and the others are the 25 other judges. 25 other judges means apart from the Chief Justice, there are other judges also. Now the question comes, from where do they come? Yes, obviously they come from different states having a long, not only qualification, but also a long history of law background, legal background. Then only they are actually. Now I will tell you what are the qualifications, clear. So this is the composition, and the judges are appointed by the President of India. They are appointed by the President of India, clear. President of India appoints them. Now, what is the qualification? If you want to become a judge of the Supreme Court of India, what should be your qualification? First of all, you should have a thorough knowledge of law. If you want to become the judge of a Supreme Court, you must have a thorough knowledge of law. Clear? Now, together with that, not only thorough knowledge of law, together with that you must have an experience. Experience of what? Either as an advocate, means lawyer, in any of the high courts of India for at least 10 years. It's not necessary that 10 years in one court only, no. Several high courts of India, but total experience must be at least for 10 years. Either this one, or you should have at least 5 years of experience as a judge of any of the High Court of India, any High Court of India, but your experience can be more than that. It can be 25, it can be 35 years, whatever it may be, but it should not be less than 5 years. Clear? So, if you have this kind of qualification, then maybe the President of India, one fine morning you get a message that you are requested to join the Supreme Court of India, and that day I think that will be the happiest day for you. So, qualification what? Obviously should have a thorough knowledge of law, together with that either 10 years of advocacy in any of the high courts of India, or 5 years of judge in any of the High Court of India. Clear? Now, term of office. Usually the term of office is 65 years of age. Clear? A judge is, yes, oh, that one, okay, I have missed out that one. Yes, 35, he should be above 35 years of age. I have taught you before, maybe in class 9 part I have taught you. Same like the President of India. Term means for how long can he serve in the Supreme Court of India, and what should be the age of retirement? His age of retirement should be 65 years. Clear? So, 65 is the age for the retirement of a judge of the Supreme Court. Next is what salary? Salary, you know, they are fixed. Usually I suppose as far as at present they draw a salary of 1 lakh rupees per month, and together with that all the other facilities which they have, like pensions, provident fund, after retirement benefits, they get all of them. Clear? Now, another one is that how is, next question comes, that how is the Chief Justice of India appointed? Who becomes the Chief Justice of India? Amongst the 26 judges, who becomes the Chief Justice of India? Now, the question comes here that among the 26 judges, or the total number of judges, amongst them, whoever is the senior most among them, usually becomes the Chief Justice of India, which means that all the judges of the Supreme Court by turns get a chance to become the Chief Justice of Supreme Court once in their entire term. But if it happens like this, that one person has become the Chief Justice of India, and another person by the time he is the Chief Justice of India, another one also is a more or less any reason retirement takes place, then that person will be losing that opportunity. That is another thing. But you know, this particular provision, what was the provision? That the senior most judge will become the Chief Justice of India. Chief Justice of India. This is the short form I have written. But you know, this particular provision, it was broken twice. Once in 73 and once in 1977. What happened, you know, instead of the senior most judge, another judge who was much junior to him or her at that time, you know what happened? They were appointed as the Chief Justice of India. And what happened in both the cases, one was someone Mr. Khanna or someone was there, another one I have forgotten the name. What happened in both the cases, you know, the senior most judge, you know, has resigned from the office as a mark of protest for the injustice done to him during that time. And after that, after 1977, you know, now strict steps have been taken that whoever is the senior most will be appointed as the Chief Justice of India, and no other chances are there. So, today I will keep up till this part, and tomorrow again I will continue from this part. Is it okay? Okay, thank you very much children. Have a nice day.